and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. Let's get ready to rumble!
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co-host, Daniel Bobo Curlin. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. Still pumped after that win that literally had me sweating bullets. Like I did not calm down until like after. Like I may have had to had to light up an old Mary Jane with that one.
A little Mary Jane, definitely. That could definitely be in order after a hell of a win last night. And you know what? That might calm your nerves a little bit because the Rangers definitely scared the hell out of all their fans last night. But it was a thrilling victory, a phenomenal performance from our goalie, Igor Shesterkin. And yeah, let's just start there. As the Rangers win the big game last night over the Hurricanes, 1-0. They take a 6-point lead in division. And hey, Dan, after that win last night, 6-point lead, we got to be feeling pretty good right now about locking in that division title spot, right?
Yeah, I just have a feeling this game was a playoff preview, and I just have a feeling if we cross paths with these guys in the playoffs, I just have a feeling that's going to be what's going to have to take. It's going to have to be keeping that game close, and they did exactly what they needed to do with that win. Just sweat it out. They had to sweat it out if they needed to, keep it close, and they managed to be on the winning end of a close game.
Yeah, man. I mean, a 28 save shutout from Igor Shesterkin. The guy was absolutely ridiculous yesterday. It seemed like especially early on in that first period, and then as the game wore on, Igor Shesterkin just got better and better and better. It's funny how a couple of months ago there are people that were actually saying that he was washed, or that he wasn't as good as advertised, or that Vezina season was as good as he's ever going to get. Well, everybody's looking kind of stupid right now because Igor has just been on an incredible run, including now back-to-back shutouts, and you just got to love what you're seeing out of this kid. I mean, he's proving that he is, if not the best, a top 3 goaltender in the league.
Yeah, I have to say that he's hit last couple of games. He's been pretty much like Gandalf in that scene, Lord of the Rings. Oh, shall not pass.
Yeah, that's a damn good analogy right there, man. Because that's exactly what he's been like, And it's like those trees where the Carolina Hurricanes, and he was not letting them get through. And man, it didn't matter what they threw at him. Yesterday was Jake Gunsel's debut as a Carolina Hurricane, and he looked pretty good. But that as dangerous as that Carolina team looked, it just didn't matter. Igor shrugged it all off. The defense really kept them down. I mean, they did have 28 shots, which is below normal for them. They're at least usually somewhere in that 30 to 35 range. So the Rangers definitely kept them in check from a defensive standpoint. But when they were able to get anything through, Igor just absolutely smothered him. And one other stat that I saw I really enjoyed was that Igor now, in 7 of his last 10 starts, has a .968 or better save percentage. So that just goes to show that, he did get a little beat up in those 2 games against Florida and Toronto on the road, where the Rangers were still shorthanded and everything before the deadline. But in the games leading up to that, and ever since the deadline, Igor was just, to basically be at 97% in 7 out of 10 games is ridiculous, right?
Yeah, he is it's just unbelievable, and it's not going to get any easier. The next game on Saturday, I believe on Thursday, it's going to be another one that's going to be very sweated out. I'm going to look like that scene in the movie Airplane by the time that game ends.
Yeah, you're right. Hey, Dan, just fix your mic a little bit. It sounds like it's cutting in and out.
All
But
right, can you hear me?
that's much better. Yep. And Dan, it's funny you mentioned that too, because it's also the Rangers are doing this without one of their big energetic pieces over the last month or so when they really started to straighten things out after a down January. But Matt Rempe was suspended for 4 games by the league for his hit against the Devils on Monday night. He was thrown out of the game and given a misconduct 5-minute major. So, obviously we knew that it was going to be going to a hearing with the league's safety and everything like that. But now we find out Matt Rempe suspended 4 games, obviously the first of which was the game against Carolina yesterday. Lucky them. But, what do you think about that, Dan? Because I thought that the 4 games was excessive. I would have understood 1 or 2. Anything more than that, I mean, we saw a guy, I forget who it was, but there was a guy earlier this season that had a goal scored against him in front of the net and then cross-checked the guy to the ground, and he got 5 games. So you're going to tell me Matt Rempe for, a hit that was illegal, I'll give you that, but wasn't that bad and was mostly just because he's so much bigger than the other guy. Um, you know, that's worth 4 games. Seems a little excessive to me.
Yeah, I just feel like I feel like that was obsessive. Should have been no more than 2 games. I just really think these people in charge of the NHL were trying to make an example out of him because he's a rookie. It's the only
Yep.
explanation why it could be why 4 games. Because I
Well, and
guarantee,
not only, yeah,
I guarantee if he had been in the league for a few years, maybe it may have been 2 games, but they just want to make an example out of him. He's a rook because he's a rookie.
I agree with you, man. And you know what? I think not only because he's a rookie, I think it's because he's a rookie that's garnered so much attention so far that he's almost put a target on his back. Not only for the other players on the other teams that want to test him out and see if he can hang, the officials too. I mean, we saw it. I forget which game it was, but Rempe wasn't even really doing anything yet, and the officials were already. He had 2 officials hanging off of him, trying to break up, whatever was going on, and getting in the way, making sure Rempe didn't initiate any kind of fighting or any kind of physical play, after the whistle at least. And it was just, it's very interesting that they dropped this 4 games on him right now, because that almost seems like it's the same thing where Rempe right now kind of has a target on his back coming from all angles.
Yeah, that's just what it feels like. It's like all of a sudden now it's like everyone's trying to pick a fight with him now. All of a sudden.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And he's gonna have to know that too. He's gonna have to play smart. You can't be taking um any unnecessary risks, when you're throwing hits that are borderline. It depends. You're gonna have to pick your spots. If the Rangers are down and they need that energetic boost, drop the gloves and then you can lay the big hits and everything. But I think in situations like we saw the other night where the Rangers are up 2-0 and you throw a hit like that, as much as I did like it, as much as I love that physical play, it just wasn't the right time for it, because you have that big X on your back. And not only do you have that big X on your back, now your team's gonna have to go out and kill a 5-minute power play that could turn a 2-goal comfortable feeling lead to a 1-goal biting your nails fest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And I hope he wises up come playoff time.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's going to have to. And with a head coach like Laviolette, I believe he will. Peter Laviolette, I believe, is the perfect guy to be to be leading this team right now, exactly as they're you um, constructed. I couldn't think of the word. But yeah, so I mean, as you mentioned a second ago, Dan, now the Rangers are going to be playing the Lightning tomorrow at Madison Square Garden, 7 p.m. Big game. The Lightning, they're not the championship level team that we've seen over the last few years that we've become accustomed to. They lost a lot of pieces off those rosters. And, I think the one thing we have to keep in mind, though, that as compromised of a team as this is, they still have a lot of high end scoring. They still have a lot of talent. And obviously, Vasilevsky, between the pipes never hurts too. So when you put that all together, I just kind of hope that right now in a 3-game winning streak starting to straighten things out, I hope the Rangers don't take the Lightning for granted.
Yeah, exactly. They need to not take this opponent lightly, and they need to have their defense on cue for this one, especially against this team if you give them too many chances in the offensive zone.
Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And before we move on from hockey, though, too, I do want to give some love to the other team in town that we don't really talk about too much because me and you are big Ranger fans, as you can see. Our background, my background, everything. Me and you are big Ranger fans. We will not hide from that. But I do want to give a little bit of love to Patrick Waugh, Hall of Fame goaltender, probably one of the best goalies of all time, and his New York Islanders team, because they have been on a very nice run lately. They're streaking. They have streaked themselves right into a playoff spot. They had a 6-game winning streak. Unfortunately for them, it was snapped on Monday night in LA by the Kings. But the Islanders are right there right now, man. I mean, if you look at the NHL standings, they currently sit 2 points behind the Tampa Bay Lightning for the top wild card spot. But they have 72 points. They're tied with the Detroit Red Wings for the final wild card spot, and they have a game at hand. So that means they've played one less game than the Detroit Red Wings. So points percentage wise and everything else, they're ahead of the Red Wings right now, even though they're tied. So, what do you think about this, Dan? Because I think for all intents and purposes, most of the season, we kind of considered the Islanders dead in the water, basically. But they've come alive, and they are really putting themselves in this playoff hunt.
Yeah, they just look like they're going to sneak into the playoffs just by the skin of. They're either going to sneak it by the skin of their teeth and or not make it by the skin of their teeth, as I predicted last week. And that looks
Yeah.
like we're seeing that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Dan. Especially when, um, you look at the Islanders right now, and they're playing good hockey, and they have a veteran team with a good goaltender. This is not a team. As much as a Ranger fan, I feel like the Rangers would still be able to beat them in a 7-game series. I think the Rangers have the better team, the better goaltender up and down, but that would be a very if we were put in a situation where there was a Ranger Islander playoff series this year, that that series would be like pulling teeth. The Islanders are a veteran team. They got Patrick Waugh here now, very energetic, good coach. Obviously, Sorokin is a good goalie too, who could steal you a game every once in a while. Uh, Even if it's not Rangers Islanders, whoever the Islanders do play, that's not going to be an easy out for them because they're a tough team that does have playoff experience.
Yes, that could be like the hidden tough opponent that people are overlooking. And going into playoffs, I feel you can't overlook any opponent because as far as I see, any opponent anyone who makes it, they're a tough opponent.
Absolutely. You got that right, Dan. And I do want to also shift gears a little bit here. As we move on from hockey, we'll start talking a little bit of baseball. But taking a break from the joking around of sports and taking it too seriously and this and that and analyzing all this crap that we know and love, I do want to give a warm shout out to a guy who me and Dan are both familiar with, former Met star Daryl Strawberry. Very, very nice man. Unfortunately, suffered a heart attack last night. He's in a stable condition. He's in the hospital. He's recovering well. He's surrounded by his family. He's doing well. Like I said, he's obviously survived it. So thank God for that. And just prayers to Daryl and his family that he gets well soon. He was just at Met camp a couple of weeks ago. So let's hope we see Daryl on his feet soon again before his number is retired later this year.
Yep, exactly. Our hearts go out to Strawberry. Definitely one of the greatest position players in this team's history. And I've met him. The guy was super nice. I actually showed him at the at the Queens baseball convention. I showed him a photo I took with him when I was very little at Shea Stadium.
Very cool. Very cool, man. Yeah, I actually had the pleasure of meeting Daryl as well at spring training quite a few years ago, maybe in the 2009, 2010, right around that area. And yeah, he couldn't have been nicer. Obviously, growing up as a Met fan, I was born in '86. You were just a couple of years old during that time, and we both grew up with a love of Daryl. So obviously, it's incredible to see the work that he's done and the way that he's changed his life over the last few years. I was just reading an article a couple of weeks ago about how Daryl Strawberry. Let's not forget this is a guy who is an admitted drug and he was a drug addict. He was an alcoholic. He did time in jail. He had a very, very rough portion of his life that played out, on the big screen in front of everybody when he was, in his playing days and shortly thereafter. And now he goes around and he does speaking tours. He's a man of faith. He goes to correctional facilities and tries to help inmates. So this is a guy that does a lot of good work in the world. So thank God that he survived, and definitely hope to see Daryl rebound quickly on this. Right, Dan?
Yep, exactly. We hope we're definitely rooting for him as all of us Met fans rooted for him back in the day. We're rooting for him then, and we're rooting for him now to get back to to win this setback. And I know plenty of people who have gone through this heart attacks and stuff. It's not an easy thing to go through, and it's a tough recovering process, but it's a winnable fight, and I'm sure he'll pull through and win this fight.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And um, obviously the fact that he had a heart attack, it showed that something was wrong, and hopefully now they fixed that, and he can possibly even be in better shape than he was before this. We saw our good buddy Anthony Cumia, who just had his big heart surgery with I forget the exact terminology for it, but it was all of his ventricles were closed up basically, and he had to have a complete to get that entire section of his body redone, that whole the heart and everything. And so, and now he looks great, and he's feeling great, and says that he feels obviously not as lethargic and everything like that. So let's just hope that maybe Daryl experiences the same thing, where this ends up being a better thing for him in the long run now that they caught it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So let's keep it rolling along here now, and get back to our normal talk, as we got a lot of spring training baseball going on now, and let's switch over to that. There we go. And we got a little bit of news coming out today, as the Mets announced that Jose Quintana has been named the opening day starter. And I like Quintana. I'm happy for Quintana. I know the only reason he's starting is because of Kodai Senga being injured right now. But Dan, doesn't it say a lot about this team right now and Steve Cohen and where we are, that Jose Quintana is the opening day starter? We went from Matt Harvey and Noah Syndergaard and Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander to Jose Quintana. What has become of the New York Mets, man?
I know it's just shocking. We went from five aces to no aces.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. And it feels like you were robbed. It feels like the Mets suffered a home invasion of all their pitching riches that they seem to have had for decades. And unfortunately now it's just a memory of the past. It's crazy to think that Jose Quintana, who I don't want to make this seem like I'm running down Jose Quintana, but I was happy when they signed him last year to be the 4 or 5 starter. But the fact of the matter is that right now the Mets have to turn to a guy that they signed to be their 4 or 5 starter last year as their ace, as the guy that's starting on opening day. So it's just it's very disappointing that that this is what it's come to, you know. And I just look, I hope he pitches great, you know. I hope he pitches like an ace all year. But yeah, it's just very disappointing that Quintana is the name that we're getting out there right now. As right now, by the way, the Mets are playing in Port St. Lucie, playing a lot of night games this year. They're playing the Houston Astros right now, trailing 1-0 in the 5th inning. But what do you think about the uptick of night games during spring training this year? You know, I know most people might not even notice it, but as a person that goes to spring training a lot, I've been to a lot of them over the years. This is definitely more night games than we've ever seen. And to be honest, I don't like it. I like daytime spring baseball. What do you think about that?
Yeah, exactly. I think it should be most daytime. I don't mind if they sprinkle in a night game here and there, but I think it should just stick to being mostly day games. I mean, people like it when they travel. When they've gone through rough winter weather. They want a nice experience, that nice warm weather feeling, and they feel it's
Yeah,
not really represented in the night game. I understand maybe sprinkling. I don't mind them sprinkling maybe a couple of night games, maybe the last week of spring training, because the players just want to get more acclimated to when they're normally playing. But I feel aside from the first week of spring training, it should be all day games until the last week of spring training. Then I don't mind the last week of spring training making night games, because you're starting to ramp it up to be ready for the season.
yeah. I'm with you on that. I like that idea if they went and did that. I definitely agree with you on that. That'd be very cool if they did anything like that, but I don't know if that's going to happen. But I would, yeah, I would definitely sign for that. You know, the other thing too that came out of tonight's game is that Brett Beatty has been scratched from tonight's lineup. He's got back tightness, and you know, hey, this is one thing you don't want to see this early in the game here in spring. You don't want to see, and actually, it feels early, but in 2 weeks we're going to be at opening day. You know, it's going to be having opening day, and Brett Beatty being banged up right now. We're going to get to the Yankees in a sec because they're a little banged up too. But Brett Beatty being banged up is not a good sign for the Mets.
Yeah, yeah, and I just hope this is nothing maybe than just a couple of days, nothing big, maybe just a couple of days, maybe a week or so. But aside from that, hopefully it's nothing else than that.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's just hope that they're being cautionary rather than reactionary, and that they know this is bad.
Yeah, and rather this happen now than during the season.
True, true. But also, if you have nagging injuries like this that start in spring, they could really affect you for the whole season. So let's just hope that's not the case.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about you real quick, Dan, before we wrap on the Mets and move on to the Yankees here, is did you hear this report that came out? I didn't see what paper put it out there, but it might have been the New York Post, but I'm not sure. But apparently, we've all been talking about why haven't the Mets gone out and signed a DH? Why haven't the Mets, they've had plenty of options. We're still looking at a guy like JD Martinez on the free agent market who could come in and be the Mets DH today. There's also been, plenty of other guys on the market. Cody Bellinger, people were talking about. Just a slew of other guys that they could have gone after and chose not to. Well, apparently the reason why they haven't done that and signed a full-time DH is because of Mark Vientos. And they want to give Mark Vientos a good look at DH this year. And they said if they sign anybody, it would severely cut into his playing time. And what I say to that is, what the hell are the Mets thinking? I like Mark Vientos. He's a good, decent young player. But Mark Vientos is not going to be anything. Mark Vientos, do you think that Mark Vientos is ever going to hit 30 home runs at the major league level, like in a season? I don't know about
I
that.
really don't think so. I feel it's a big question mark, and I just feel this one you really just want to go with a proven product, and I feel that that they should go after JD Martinez. Also, though,
Yeah.
I have a feeling JD Martinez, the price might drive up because I heard there's already the Yankees are already having concerns with Aaron Judge. I heard.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that, Dan, because that's exactly what our next topic is: Yankee injury concerns. And you hit the nail on the head with the wording on that one. Let's start with Aaron Judge. And I mean, man, if you're a Yankee fan right now, you got to be sweating a little bit, as Aaron Judge had an MRI on his abs and won't swing a bat until the earliest later this week. Um, I don't even think he's going to swing it that early, to be honest. I wouldn't expect to see him until early next week swinging a bat again. But right now, he's saying that his plan is to be ready for opening day, which, as we mentioned, is about 2 weeks from now. What do you think about this? Because I mean, as good as Soto has looked, the dream of pairing him with Judge and Giancarlo Stanton, the Yankees don't want that to go out the window on March 13th, right?
Yeah, if that happened, if they're not having ready by opening day, they're going to go. They are looking at potentially having a slow start, especially the fact their ace might be out for is going to be out for at least the first 2 months of the season. There's some concerns there in Yankee fans. I'm pretty much telling every Yankee fan I know. I says, well, you know what we're. I said, yeah, we've been through this before. Us Met fans have been through this before. The character skits from regular show. He says, I've seen this before, and pretty much telling people, pretty much telling Yankee fans about them. This is the same we've gone through, and this happens, and you just
Yeah.
seen it happen to you guys.
Yeah, it's true, man. And as you mentioned too, defending Cy Young winner, Yankees starting pitcher and ace Garrett Cole out at least 1 to 2 months now. Of a From the report this afternoon from John Heyman. Now apparently he has an appointment with Dr. Neil Elatrache, who's the same guy that worked on Aaron Rodgers. And no, that does not mean that Garrett Cole is worried about his Achilles. He's worried about obviously something in his arm. The Yankees mentioned earlier this year. Sorry, it was earlier this spring, maybe about a week ago, when the concerns about Garrett Cole's arm in the first place started coming up, that he didn't seem like he was bouncing back as quickly in and that's the thing that all pitchers have to deal with is bouncing back after your next start. Some do it better than others. Sometimes it's easier to do than other times. You can even see that Garrett Cole wasn't himself earlier this spring when he allowed a home run to Daniel Vogelback of the Toronto Blue Jays. So you knew that Cole wasn't exactly himself. But, Cole ended up coming up and, he made it known that he was hurt. And, this is not a good sign for the Yankees. I mean, if we're talking about Memorial Day at the earliest that he's coming back, that's a big stretch. And in my mind, I don't know if we're going to be seeing Cole at all this year. What do you think, Dan?
Yeah, I just have a sense that if they're gonna see him, it could be not until the second half, and that could be a little too late. Because then think about all the time it takes to come back and to get into that, missing all this time during spring training. It's going to be a major setback with these pitchers. I've seen it many times as a Met fan. We saw it 2022 with Jacob deGrom. Didn't come back until almost 2 months into the 2 months left of the season, maybe a month and a half left of the season. He came back.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, he came back in the middle of August, and yeah, basically, yeah, you're 100% right. So it's it's really walking a tightrope for the Yankees if you're a Yankee fan right now, because you're really at the mercy of Garrett Cole. I mean, Dan, where do the Yankees go from here now if Cole is hurt long term? They got Rodon, they got Marcus Stroman, but aside from that, man, there is not a lot of upside for the Yankees in that rotation. And if they don't get if you don't get the San Francisco Giants version of Carlos Rendon, or if you don't get even the Mets version of Marcus Stroman, man, the Yankees are going to be in big trouble. especially in a good division like they are.
No, I can only say one thing. Scott Boras is now gonna be driving up the price of Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell. So you might not even have an easy time getting Blake Snell. It's gonna be you're gonna be stuck in a bidding war. And how much are they gonna be willing to go into a bidding war for these guys? And even that season might even be already started. You're not gonna have them in time for the start of the season because the way Scott Boras is dragging this out with dragging this the way Scott Boras drags these out with free agents these days.
That's a good point, actually. I forgot that both Jordan Montgomery and Blake Snell still remain unsigned. So there really is a lot of different ways this could go from here. I mean, and I don't really see a bidding war. I mean, I know it's being reported. I know people are talking about it, but I don't see a bidding war. I think a lot of teams, the only teams that could possibly, like maybe if the Braves or the Dodgers, or which I don't even see if the Dodgers could have any room on that team for either of those guys, but I can't really see a non-contending team getting into a bidding war over one of these guys. You know what I mean? I can only see it being a handful of teams, and to me, the Yankees should just sweep in. To be honest, even if it's not, the Yankees should sign either one of those guys. Either they bite the bullet and say, you know what, screw it, let's take the chance and go after Blake Snell, or just go after Jordan Montgomery. The Yankees should have never traded him in the first place. That was a terrible move for them.
Yeah, exactly, and it's gonna cost them even more now because now, I mean, Scott Boras is definitely aware of this injury thing, and that's only gonna drive up the price.
Yeah, it's true, man. It's true, and yeah, I mean that's but isn't that the beauty of Scott Boras though, Dan? Right? I mean, this is a guy that thinks he's holding people hostage, but it seems like the only people he's holding hostage right now are his own players, because it's March 13th and the season starts on March 28th, and your clients aren't even signed and in camp yet. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's crazy that this is happening.
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. So definitely, yeah, very, just another thing to keep in mind, because there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and the Yankees really have to be open to everything, because especially if Garrett Cole, this was the Yankees all-in season. We're going to be talking a little football in a sec right now, as there's been a lot of free agent news and everything like that going on with both our teams. But the one big thing for the Yankees is that they have to go out there and put their money where their mouth is right now, because this is an all-in season for them, and you can't waste having this 1 year with Juan Soto. You have to make it worthwhile, right?
Yeah, exactly. You don't. It's such a difficult time. You don't know if you don't get it. You don't know if you're going to get another chance. So you literally have to pounce on it while you can.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that, Dan. And talking about a little free agency right now, I figure let's jump over to a little football, as we've got some real interesting news coming out the last couple of days. NFL free agency started this week. Legal tampering started on Monday, when we start to hear, all the whispers of these deals getting done. Obviously, a couple of big trades went down for our teams. The Giants went out and acquired a big-time defensive end, Burns, from the Carolina Panthers. Let's just start there, Dan, before we get to some bad news. But the good news is that Burns is going to come in. He's going to team up with who's the kid that the Giants drafted last year on the end?
Damn it, I forget the name. Damn it.
Whatever his name is, but I forget. I should have looked it up, but I've been distracted the last couple of hours. But obviously, you stick Burns and the kid the Giants drafted last year on the defensive ends, and I know it sucks losing a great defensive coordinator like Wink. You would have loved to see what he would have done with these guys, but the Giants pass rush is going to be much more effective this year than we've seen the last couple of years, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It's got. I just feel we're gonna have a great defense. I don't know how well that's gonna carry us during the season because there's still a lot of question marks on offense.
Yeah, definitely a lot of question marks on offense. I mean, you know, and let's just keep going there right now as we found out that Saquon Barkley left
Oh,
the Giants and signed with the hated Philadelphia Eagles. Don't worry, we'll get to my Jets in a minute because they also had a player stolen by the Philadelphia Eagles. But Dan, I know Saquon, has felt like a franchise player for the Giants. He's been their best offensive weapon over the last few years, ever since he was drafted. What are your thoughts? And are you angry with Saquon? Because I know a lot of Giant fans are.
yeah, I am. I'm angry, especially signing with the Eagles. Ugh, it's gonna make me want to boo him extra. Wearing that uniform, any uniform that says Philadelphia on it, I boo you.
Yeah, yeah. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I understand the frustration. I understand the anger. But the one thing I will say is that, look, if I was a Giants fan, and I know I'm not, but if I was a Giants fan, I can't even be mad at Saquon. I could be a little irritated that he signed with the Eagles of all teams, but I can't be that mad at Saquon because let's be honest, Dan, the Giants have gone out of their way the last couple of years to not pay the guy. I mean, the Giants really couldn't match basically 13 or 14 million dollars a year for Saquon Barkley. That I feel like the Giants really undervalued him, which is going on in the NFL these days, where for some reason the running back position is very devalued. I don't understand that. But Saquon Barkley was such a good player, and let's be honest, he did everything he could to play for this team. How many other players would have actually showed up to Giants camp last year when he was in a holdout, and the only thing the Giants did was bump his salary up $1 million? You know what I mean? He went from the $11 million tag or whatever it was to about 12 and a half. So the Giants only bumped him up a little bit, and he still came in and played every game for a team that was really bad this year. You know, I understand the frustration with him leaving and where he went, but you have to admit the Giants had a big hand in this too, and they should have locked him up 2 years ago when they had the chance.
Yeah, they should have. I feel it's gonna be a big mistake. I feel it's gonna bite them in the ass this year, especially on offense. Not only, I mean, it just created another hole on offense.
Yep.
We're, we're, we're now we don't have a running back that, and now we don't, and we still don't have enough on the offensive line to protect the quarterback, leaving the quarterback open again.
Yeah, it feels to me a lot like when the Mets let Zach Wheeler walk. You know what I mean? It feels like uh, the team that drafted him, and obviously the Mets, the team that brought him in as a minor league player for Carlos Beltran, but it just felt like the team that developed these guys just didn't value them either accurately or enough, and said, you know what, whoever takes them, I'm willing to pay the price for that. And what happened? Zach Wheeler got paid $100 million by the Phillies, and he's been to an NLCS and a World Series since then, and has done nothing but win. And you kind of get the feeling that Saquon Barkley is going to go to the Philadelphia Eagles and make the Giants regret it for the next 3 years. So it just seems like, you know, the teams that we root for are not accurately valuing the players that they develop.
Yeah, it just freaking sucks, and
Yeah.
I'm just fuming seeing that. I was fuming seeing that news. Like I was, there may have been a couple of loud f bombs when I saw that alert on my Twitter when I saw an alert from the SNY Twitter page mentioning that. I was fuming at the mouth. So I can tell you that it may have been like that scene in that SpongeBob episode, The Cursing. You know when he slips and he yells out every curse in the book. Probably like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. But real quick, what do you think about the guy that they signed to replace him, Devin Singletary, former Houston Texans running back? He's not too bad. I mean, he's definitely no Saquon, but he's not too bad. Kind of like a discount bin Saquon, if you will. But what are your thoughts on Singletary?
I feel like Singletary might be an okay running back. I don't know how much that's going to be. That's going to be a big difference or not. We'll wait and see. It's a 50-50 chance it's going to go. It's going to go well, and a 50-50 chance it's going to be disaster, where the successor was not good as a predecessor. It could be one of those years that I'm just going to be scratching my heads and like one of those winters where I start. Let's see. Let's just count the days to the next major sports season. Let's see the next sport that's going to be the next sport up that's going to on the calendar goes better.
Yeah.
One of those seasons. Like it felt like that last football season. It was like, oh, let's see how this goes.
Yeah, pretty much. I think after the Giants got beat 40-0 on opening night, and the Jets' Aaron Rodgers got hurt 4 plays into the season, I think on September 10th for you and September 11th for me, we both kind of looked at our watch and said, "Is it hockey season yet?"
Yeah.
Because football was pretty quick for us this year.
Yeah, it just felt like that, and it just felt like one injury after the other happened with the Giants, and it just got worse and worse, and it just ended in disaster, and culminating with a football season ending, seeing that. And by the way, I look at the NFL schedule. I'm kind of lucky that during the regular season the Giants aren't playing the Chiefs. I'm kind of lucky about that. Because I don't have to worry. I don't have to worry about watching football and seeing Taylor Swift's face on the screen. I forgot. What about your Jets? Do your Jets have the same luck?
Yeah, I don't believe the Jets play the Chiefs this year either. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 95% sure.
Well, at least we'll know we'll have a Taylor Swift free regular season this football season. I can be glad about that.
That's definitely very true, man. And yeah, real quick before we move on from football, also some notable things happening for my Jets as they went out and made a big trade today, actually, for a right tackle, Morgan Moses. He was a former Jet a couple of years ago in 2021, who they didn't retain because they were expecting Mekhi Becton to come back from his injury, which he didn't. He got hurt again. So losing Morgan Moses was a pretty stupid move for the Jets, but they bring him back in a trade, giving up a 4th and a 6th. Really, it was a 4th swap, so they kind of just moved down a few spots in the 4th. But bringing him back in is a really big move for them. Also, but on the stupid side, they went out there and lost, as we were just saying with the Giants. The Giants didn't accurately value Saquon Barkley. The Jets did the same thing for their own player that they developed as an undrafted free agent. Bryce Huff goes out there, has 10 sacks this season. The Jets could have given him a deal in the range of 10 to 12 million last year. They chose to not do that. They screwed themselves over. They could have traded him at the trade deadline, possibly even a first-round pick. That didn't happen, so they could have franchise tagged him just a couple of weeks ago. But Joe Douglas is too much of a nice guy to do that. Who wants to get paid $20 million for one season? No, but he lets Bryce Huff walk also to the Philadelphia Eagles, and in a 3-year, $51 million contract. The Jets just gave 3 years, $45 million to Carl Lawson, who couldn't even put together a full season for them. But 3 years, $51 million was just a bridge too far for a guy they developed. Dan, what are these executives thinking? I just don't get it sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like these executives are just collecting a paycheck.
Yeah, I mean, but, with the Giants, okay, whatever. Maybe this is a new GM that didn't draft Saquon, so he didn't value him as much. So, okay, maybe that's the reason why you could let him walk. You can reason that out, even if you don't like it. For the Jets, this is a guy that Joe Douglas brought in. This is a guy that Joe Douglas and Robert Saleh developed over the last 3 or 4 years. So what are they doing just letting this guy walk? What do they think that tells other guys on the team? One thing I kept saying last year with paying Quinnen Williams, which thank God they did, was show the other players on the team that you want to pay your guys. You know what I mean? The guys that have been there for you and been there in the down times. What does this say to Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley. What does this say to Sauce Gardner? What does this say to Garrett Wilson? What does this say to the young players that you want to stick around for a long time? That you take a guy like Bryce Huff and then just let him walk? To me, that's a terrible message to send to your locker room.
Yeah, it's a terrible message, especially with a team that's in a short window that has a short window to win it all.
Exactly, and a quarterback that apparently is a vice presidential candidate.
Yeah, I could tell you, I see the odds of that happening are very slim, but I feel we're talking politics, but hopefully he doesn't go in that direction, because I think you would lose your mind. I don't think you would even survive. You would survive a season where the Jets would hit an all-time low.
Aaron Rodgers. Let's be honest. Look, I'm a Jets fan. That would be entertaining as hell to see Aaron Rodgers as RFK Jr.'s running mate. But let's be honest. RFK Jr. is running as a third-party candidate. There's a very slim chance he could even, get on the ballot in a lot of states, much less win. And Aaron Rodgers is not going to be his vice presidential partner or running mate, as they say. He also mentioned former WWE superstar and governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura, who I'm sure Anthony Cumia would love that, because the impressions of Jesse Ventura as a vice presidential candidate would just be amazing. It would be appointment viewing watching the Cumia show, if it isn't already. But that would just crack me up, right?
Yeah. Well, of course, I just had a feeling that RFK would be is more and more looking like the joke candidate. You know how the third candidate's always a joke candidate. That's what this looks like. It's gonna be a joke candidate. It's gonna be a meme. I feel like during the whole year, it's gonna be a meme.
Yeah, he's like the Ross Perot right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be a meme.
But hey, no worries. If you like RFK, that's cool. If you don't, I mean, I think he sounds a lot better than a lot of other candidates. But let's not get into political talk, as you said, Dan. And we're just about done here. We're coming to the final laps. Which, by the way, Dan, speaking of that, we have a Bobo's Trackside Minute coming this week, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be filming a Bobo's Trackside Minute a little bit later this long, talking about the action that happened at Phoenix last Sunday, and hopefully maybe previewing the action going on in Bristol, Tennessee.
Absolutely. Make sure to check that out. And Bobo's Trackside Minute is a favorite on our Patreon, which is only $5 a month if you sign up for it. And as you can see in the bottom of the screen, you get a free week trial. Cancel anytime, right, Dan?
Yeah, free week trial. Plus, you get a bonus that I kind of came up with because I from time to time I upload videos on my YouTube. I like to give all you guys that subscribe to the Patreon early access. You subscribe to Patreon, you get early access. You got a great deal there.
That's right, man. Early access and whole bunch of fun benefits. We do weekly Patreon shows on there. A lot of bonus content, some fun stuff. So make sure to check that out if you're interested. We appreciate all the support we get. But last thing, Dan, before we get out of here, I want to talk a little New York Knicks. And we got some good news yesterday as OG Anunoby came back from his injury. He had surgery. He was out for about 6-7 weeks. And he returned to the Knicks lineup. He had 14 points, and seemed like he was in pretty good shape. Getting ready for the playoffs now as the Knicks blew out the Sixers 106-79. They actually played a back-to-back set against the Sixers at the Garden, and they split. The first game was 79-73. So if you look at that, the Knicks defense didn't even allow the Sixers to score 80 points in back-to-back games. I mean, Tom Thibodeau, that's the type of stuff that Tom Thibodeau loves. So it's great to see the defense playing that well, and to see the offense get a little bit of a boost from OG coming back in was great to see too, right?
Yeah, that was just a feel good win. I had that game on my tablet. It was on the same time as the Rangers game. I had a little 2-screen action, so that was a nice little double win. And I just feel like the Knicks are going to go on some really one heck of a wild playoff run that we haven't seen from the Knicks since the 1990s.
Yeah, man. I mean, especially if Julius Randle gets healthy, we could all see. Last night the Knicks looked like a finely tuned machine. And to just think what that's going to look like once they add Randall again, and add a lot more of that top end talent. Because one thing the Knicks were doing when all these guys were banged up was just being really gritty. They were playing a lot of these guys like Miles McBride and Josh Hart, and all these guys, just a lot of minutes and grinding it out. Thibodeau loves doing that. If he doesn't have the highly skilled players, he loves grinding other teams down. That's exactly what he did with a lot of these bench guys. The Knicks were running out there, and you just got to give him credit. And now you add a little bit more of this skill to the team, and boy, the defense looks primed and ready to go. The offense looks primed and ready to go. And this could be a long playoff run. Maybe we're getting ready to see the Knicks take off, right?
Yeah, I just feel like that, and anything less than that would be a big letdown.
Yeah, especially after getting a game 6 in the second round last year against Miami. You at least want to win 2 playoff rounds this year. It'd be nice. Get back to the Eastern Conference final. But hey, we're still a long way away from that. So, the Knicks haven't been in the Eastern Conference final in over 20 years. So let's take this nice and slow and enjoy every moment of it. And it's going to heat up over the next week or two now, Dan, as the Knicks are heading out west. And they got a 4-game road trip coming up out west where they're going to be playing Portland, Sacramento, Golden State, and Denver. Especially in that mix, Sacramento is a hell of a team. Portland's not playing great, but Golden State's always tough. They just beat us up here at the Garden a couple of weeks ago. Denver, obviously, who the Knicks blew out a few months ago, is the defending world champions. So, that's always going to be a tough game. So, this could be a crucial stretch here for the Knicks over these next couple of games, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a crucial stretch. If you're staying up late, hope you got your coffee ready, because this is going to be some very intense games the next couple of days. And if you kind of have to give an earlier sign, you might want to set your DVR for these games. Definitely.
Yeah, you're definitely going to have to set your DVR. You're definitely going to have to be checking everything out, really, because it's this is something where you're going to have to be staying up late. You'll be drinking your coffee. You're going to be doing everything possible, rubbing the sleep out of your eyes to watch the Knicks. Hopefully, get ready for a playoff run, and hopefully get healthy too, because you'd figure at some point before the beginning of April, the Knicks should be getting Julius Randle back too, and that's going to be a serious boost to them come playoff time. Even though, obviously we've been very vocal about Julius Randle and his playoff struggles over the years, but hey, the Knicks have been great with him this season. He's been playing great again. Maybe getting, the thing about Julius too is that he plays a very physical game. He bullies guys every once in a while when he has to, which the Knicks need too. The Knicks need that kind of forcefulness on their team. So, maybe the fact that Julius has all this time, the last month or two, for his body to heal and to, be 100% ready for the postseason, maybe that isn't the worst thing in the world that he had this time to recover,
Yeah, probably not the worst thing in the world. So I expect that, and I expect him to really up his game during the playoffs. I just have a feeling this is going to be it's going to be a year that all of a sudden he's going to have a breakout playoff.
Hey, if he could go from averaging 18 in the playoffs to going to average about 23 or 24 like he does in the regular season, then the Knicks are going to be a real hard out. And when you get guys like Brunson playing where Brunson was money in the playoffs last year, averaging over 27 a game. And then, you add in a guy like OG. This is a team that can definitely make some noise. No doubt about that, Dan. And yeah, man, I think that's just about going to do it for us this week. Before we get out of here, do you have anything you'd like to plug for yourself?
Sure, I got to plug my Twitter handle, Bobo103 NYC, Instagram, Bobo718DK. It's the same username I go by on Threads. Also, my YouTube for all your Bobo content. You're going to see some videos on there. Hopefully, you'll get to see a nice little video of, or actually, I feel like it's going to be, remember Taj.0 Web Redemption? Remember that video you saw the Stadium Series? How remember the beginning I said that you're going to meet up with me, and then remember like between that and when I did the rest of the video, like after the video I filmed after I had received the phone call like you couldn't make it. I feel like the later this year that hopefully that video we get out there. There's definitely gonna be a video we can get out to a game before the season's out. Though I guess there'll be an equivalent of Web Redemption that the viewers were hoping to see a video of the both of us, and they'll get a video with the both of us at the
Absolutely, Dan.
Exactly.
You got that right. So everybody keep an eye out because we're definitely going to have a lot of great content coming over the next couple of months. And as always, too, we always try to put a bunch of stuff out and appreciate everybody's support as always. So as you can see on the bottom of the screen, check out all of our social media at @BSith_podcast, at Bobo103NYC, at KramerNY, and also on Instagram at Best Seat in the House Podcast. So don't forget to also, what are you going to say, Dan?
Oh, yeah, and I got to say another thing also, but to all you Best Seat in the House news, you do know if any of our teams are one win away for the championship, we'll both be present to have footage of that, the reaction. So you'll see.
Oh, yeah.
And I have a feeling you're going to see at least one live championship reaction from the two of us sometime this year.
Hopefully, that would be amazing if that's the case. It would probably be mostly us crying if our teams are winning the championship because we can't believe what we're seeing.
yeah, exactly. I have no idea how to react. I personally, I don't know how many years, but regardless of anything, the favorites, I say which of the teams that I root for, I think would be the most emotional. I think championship. I think the Mets winning the World Series would be the most emotional championship I would experience if that ever happened.
It would be very, very emotional. Although, unfortunately, I don't expect it to happen this year.
Yeah, I don't expect it to happen. But I know if it ever happened or when it happens, I know I would not know how I'm going to react. I would be in shock. I'd be like, did this? I have a feeling I'd be in like this feeling like, did this actually happen? Because it'd be like that, and there would be definitely live parade footage. About whatever every one of our teams would change. You guys will get to see live footage of us at that parade. And at the
Absolutely.
parade. And I have to say one thing, since I know Eastside Dave is also a Knicks fan like us. If the Knicks win a championship, Eastside Dave, you're invited to join us on that attending that parade if the Knicks win the NBA Finals.
Oh, no doubt about that. That'd be a hell of a crossover show.
Yep.
All right, and on that note, everybody, I think we're going to call it a night. For Rob Kramer and Daniel Bobo Curlin, this is the Best Seat in the House podcast. I will catch you next week, everybody.